And then they sent us home with food, and I came home with like this giant doggy bag.
Was it wrapped up in tinfoil like a swan?
No, it was wrapped up like a golden calf.
Darla, it's Thursday night. It's time for the blobfish.
Simmer down now.
Simmer down now.
Simmer down.
Going down. Bring out my baby's poop.
Get to the
I'm
chopper.
putting it on the ground.
I'm going to shoot the flies with
Come
the poop.
here, little fly. Welcome back to the Jack of the Shadows podcast, episode 9. I'm Eric VC, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite Scrabble and Scree, Adam and Dave. Say hello, Adam.
Scree!
That definitely makes me Scrabble because I don't even know what a Scree. Well, other than what Adam just did.
And that's Dave.
That's me.
For this episode, we read Lord of Chaos, chapters 43 to 48. And
Scree,
Perrin
scree,
is back, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that because literally just last week we were saying how Perrin had disappeared. We hadn't heard from him forever. And then here he is this week.
We were writing letters to him.
Yeah.
Perrin, where are you?
Perrin.
He heard
I
and
hope all
answered.
is well.
He heard and answered, but then he brought the mopey moppy along with him.
We will really launch into this week's conversation with our view from Dragonmount. We'll then discuss each of our favorite moments of these chapters with What Shook Your Willow. We'll try to unscrew the inscrutable sorceresses of our story in Aes Aes Baby before looking into a couple of their isolated leaders and lead weight. Our men will start to get an examination as we dig into the guts of our volatile rogue and take into the mat.
Boy.
That sounds
We'll then
uncomfortable.
muster our
Crazy.
veterinary skills as we finally get to discuss our favorite reluctant hero in Of Wolf and Man before we wrap up with our Coplin of the week and Who Leveled Up.
It's been so long.
It's
been so long.
So let's cinch up our climbing harnesses and scale at Smoky Spike in the middle of the River Aranon for
Eric's
our view from
alliteration.
Dragonmount.
I think
Did
he's
you
got
just say scale a smoky spike?
scale a smoky spike.
Yeah,
Is that
say
what you
I'm
said?
good with
Say that
tongue
5
twisters.
times fast.
Scale a smoky spike. That sounds like something that would have been on the menu, the place that you went to. Smoky
It's
Spike.
true. And when I'm thrown a
That's
challenge,
Smoky Pike.
I do not back down.
Chapter 43, The Crown of Roses.
Mm.
Starts with Marana's hired coach on the streets of Camelin. She and her cohort are returning to the Crown of Roses after meeting with Rand. Marana has embarked on a treaty with Rand in Tower 2. Talks seem to be off to a good start, but Rand seems to scare Marana. Min is sleeping in the coach and getting glances from the Aes Sedai. It seems the Aes Sedai become aware of Min's feelings for Rand during the meeting.
Don't you know it?
Marana suspects Min of having provided Rand information on the Aes Sedai's secret location that everyone knows about.
She can't.
Along with the
Yeah.
fact that Egwene is there. She's worried that Min has also divulged to Rand that Egwene is there. And we know that Rand knows that from other sources. Though we still don't know what those sources are, by the way.
No.
That is true. That is so funny to me. He's just kind of chuckling to himself.
Upon arrival at the inn, Marana gathers Varen, Alana, and her embassy and retreats to an upstairs sitting room. Marana is frustrated by what Alana has done, by bonding Rand, and by Varen's presence in general. She lets the group, Alana and Varen in particular, know that Rand has told them to stay away from the Black Tower. The group discusses Alana's bonding of Rand, and they seem to conclude it's unlikely to damage the treaty, though they're all disgusted by it.
I like how disgusted they are by it.
Well, they should be.
They should be, yeah.
Marana debates informing Varen and Alana of her plans for fear that Varen will take over the group and ruin the chances of success for the embassy. Eventually, Marana informs them she plans on approaching the nobles that supported Morghese, now in Camelin, and try to push Rand out of Camelin.
Hey, I have a question about Varen. Does anyone else just wanted to see her in some of these other outfits that the other ones are wearing?
Varen?
The skimpy outfits. I want to
No.
see Varen in one.
Not even once. She's like
wearing
9,000 years old.
skimpy outfits?
Nynaeve was.
Yeah,
Also
she was
the,
commenting on her. It was too low
Okay,
cut.
well, right, yes, because they're in Ibu Dar. The people of Camelin do not wear a skimpy outfit.
That sounds like a great vacation place.
Ibu Dar is
Ibu
a
Dar.
much
Yeah.
hotter locale than Camelin is. Though the whole world is really hot right now, so who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, the tower, they're getting down to their skivvies.
It would be
apparently.
hotter if Varen were wearing a different dress. You know what I
Hey-o,
mean?
I'm just saying.
No, you would not.
Said no one ever except for Adam.
Varen doesn't.
No, yeah.
Varen fills out an even frumpy outfit.
I think Varen is a stout
Yeah.
woman, so I don't know that
what?
that would be a good look. I'm just
We
saying.
then jump to Lady
Wow.
Dylan, who's alone in conference with Karen Sedai. Dylan voices concerns about Elaine being found, and Karen Sedai assures her that Elaine will be available soon.
I don't believe that.
Next, we jump to Rafaela Sedai and Lord Lewin in secret conversation regarding the benefits of Rand's departure from Camelin. And then finally, the chapter closes with another jump to an Aes Sedai and a former supporter of Morgaze for Queen. It's going to be Demera Arif, I think, who sneaks up on a Lady Elorian in her bath and works to convince her to join their cohort and try to push Rand out of Camelin.
There's so much hopping happening in these chapters.
There's a lot of hippity hopping.
It was happening last week, hopping around from person to person to person.
Yep.
All these names.
Hippity hop. We hippity hop over to chapter 44, The Color
was
of
quick.
Trust,
Yep.
which is an allusion to an old song where an Aes Sedai warns of the dangers of trusting people. So Matt tries to get another audience with Egwene, but is denied. And he can't find Avienda, and the town also seems to be conspiring to keep Tom and Julian away from him.
Uh-oh.
Matt gives up on the search and goes dancing at the bonfire celebrations for the new Amerlin. He ends
That's
up
where Tom
dancing
should
with
be.
Aaron Gar, a.k.a. Halima, who keeps
Pretty, but
physically
dangerous.
flirting with him and trying to lead, because he's actually a man. When he wakes the next morning, he discovers that Ulver is with the group. And then that evening, over the next few days, several Aes Sedai offer to bond Matt. Finally, Matt summoned to the Amerlin seat. Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve and Avienda put on a great display of authority for Matt, and he's told that he can either travel with Nynaeve and Elaine to Ibu Dar or return to his army. The day after that, Matt waits in a clearing outside Saladar with his men. He instructs Telemanus to follow the Saldarans if they move while he's away. He goes on to say that if Egwene should approach their group, she's to be packed up and taken to Camelin.
Packed up.
It seems kind of out of the blue that he just tells someone, yeah, if she comes here, yeah, I know she's an Aes Sedai and everything, but just try to stick her in a basket.
Right, just throw her in a bag and tuck her off to Camelin, where she'll be crowned, and I'm sure not be upset with you whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because she'll be queen and instantly have the authority to have you arrested and executed. But just follow my orders; it'll be fine. Everything will come up fine.
I'm Matt.
Yeah, I'm Matt. The Aes Sedai contingent of the journey approaches Matt from the town. The group consists of Elaine, Nynaeve, Avienda, Birgitta, Van Dien, Adeli, and Adelius.
That started
I just
out
cannot
well.
I can't get enough of hearing Van Dien mentioned because the name is just so solid.
Tom and Julian are also in the group. How is Birgitta going to keep her identity secret from Matt while they're traveling together?
It's happened so far.
I mean, yes, but they haven't spent a great amount of time with
called
each other.
Plausible deniability.
In fact, they've gone out of their way to keep her away from him up to this point, and now they're going to be spending a lot of time around each other.
Better yet, the fact is, she clearly knows who he is.
Well, and she also clearly knows that.
She knows
They've
that
been
he
to-
knows that she
Yes.
knows.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know yet that
Well-
she knows that he knows.
The girls don't really know about all of his memories, right?
Well, they don't need to, but she is aware that given
No, I know
too
she
much
is.
time with her, he's going to figure out who she is.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, she's really worried about it. And
She
if it
is.
happens, do you trust Matt to keep that secret to himself?
I kind of do, actually.
I don't know.
And the only reason I would say that I do is because Matt doesn't want everyone to know he blew the horn. That's kind of a dangerous thing for the world to know. So I think he would keep that under wraps.
Okay.
Also, there's mentioned before about if Matt has a promise, he always holds
That's
to his
true.
promise.
He is a
So-
good promise keeper.
I went to that with Dad.
Tom approaches and apologizes that he won't be able to talk with Matt further because he has been forbade by Elaine.
I'm sorry, I can't come here and talk to you because
Can't talk right now.
I just can't. Someone told me
I'm
not
going
to.
to go in the corner and do some ASMR
I'm a grown man, but
exercises.
I'm following the orders of this 18-year-old girl. Matt apologizes for his remarks upon delivering Moiraine's letter, and Tom admits that he doesn't know what to make of Moiraine's letter. And we don't know what was in Moiraine's letter to
But
Tom.
I want to know.
I think we will. I imagine.
Eventually, I'm sure we'll find out. Upon learning that the trip will take more than the 10 days Matt is anticipating, he storms over to Elaine and asks why they are not using a gateway.
A lot more than 10 days.
Elaine explains that it's far too dangerous to the villagers around the city. Then Egwene approaches amidst a crowd of Aes Sedai that Matt feels are showing a lack of respect by completely ignoring the Amerlin. So he walks toward Egwene, bows, addresses her formally as the Amerlin, and then kneels to kiss her ring.
Hey, not a bad play.
He's so proud of himself.
I'm proud of Matt.
Egwene thanks Matt and then goes to talk to Elaine and Nynaeve. Elaine opens a gateway and the group goes through. We then change perspective to Egwene, whose inner monologue confirms the fact that she's using Matt and the band to move the Aes Sedai towards Saladar.
When you all think about the gateway being opened, do you visually think about things spinning around?
Yes, like I envisioned this
said
like
spinning.
pinwheel, this spinning in, like it's like
like the scene in front of it is just turning around. Well, there's mention of it when Matt says that he recognizes that it spins around and it just like becomes even. I wasn't thinking about I was thinking about a square, and then in the background, the actual thing in the background that you're seeing, the world in the background was spinning around. I didn't think of that.
The gate spins. The
The
gate
gate
itself
spins.
spins.
I like that less.
The chapter closes with Egwene and her group riding out after Gareth Bryn. Chapter 45, A Bitter Thought, begins with the patrolman Vilnar moving through the Camelin streets toward the White Bridge Gate. His point of view is really only notable because he sees a skinny would-be Aes Sedai with a wide nose, which is probably Marlon Gamolfin,
Probably.
the
She's the
description that we've seen in the Shadow Rising chapters 51 and 54.
Wait, the Catwoman had
Look
a
at
wide
that.
nose?
She was skinny and had a wide nose,
Oh.
yes.
Okay.
It's funny, though, because Vilnar stares at her and is like, nope, that can't be an Aes Sedai. I would know, even though he's never seen one and only read about them in books or heard about them via gossip. So,
But he's got it nailed down.
The action actually starts in this chapter with Perrin approaching the city gates. He's stopped by Vilnar, who informs him that Rand has ordered no lords can enter the city with more than 20 armed men and 50 servants. Perrin has Daniel, Lewin, and Aram take the balance of the men to a camp then as a result of that at a clearing 3 miles back. And then the group moves on to meet Rand. So then we join Perrin's inner thoughts and see the struggle he has with addressing Davram Bashir to explain that he's married the man's daughter and heir. And Perrin and Fael are taken by one Aiel and then another to Rand, who greets them and congratulates them on their nuptials.
He's so happy.
Rand brings Perrin into his room,
It's
and
so
Perrin
nice to
is
see him
excited to
happy.
see Min, who he introduces to Fael.
Yeah, he's excited.
Fael then asks leave of Rand to talk to Min alone. And before leaving, she quietly reminds Perrin of who he is and that he will need to stand up for himself in the Two Rivers.
That scene was set up so strangely that Fael was there talking to Min, and then Min looked quite abashed, and Fael just looked really proud.
Well,
what precedes it is a bunch of jealousy from Fael.
Sure. But
we're getting
why Min is
retrograde
looking
Fael here, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, me either.
This is an interesting moment because Fael's initial assumption is that everybody is after my mans.
Right.
I mean, why wouldn't you be?
I want to hear Eric say that again.
And then she
Me
has
too.
to like simmer down
At the same
slowly.
time, I don't.
And then they go
Simmer
off.
down
They
now.
go off to talk, and Min has to set her straight.
Then it's all good in the hood.
Well, yeah.
You're right, Eric. It's like she just automatically assumes that everyone's hot for teacher being Perrin. Like, but that's not the case. Some people don't like beards. I'm just saying.
I think
That's
we
true.
also get an insight into exactly how attractive Min is because she assumes
Sure.
that Perrin would be attracted to her. So
I think she
that's
assumes that
where
Perrin's attracted.
Wait,
to
Min
her.
assumed that, or
jealousy-
you're saying
No,
that
Fael
Fael?
does.
Thank you. Okay.
So that's where
Fael.
the jealousy comes in on
You know what it
Fael's
is?
part, I'm sure.
It's the new ringlets on Min's head.
As Min and Fael leave, Sulin stalks in and brings wine.
I love every moment of Sulin being the subjective.
Me
Sure.
too. It's absolute comic relief.
Oh my gosh,
Is
it's so
Sulin actually
fantastic.
paying her toe by stalking around in this manner?
I don't think
like
so.
she's
Really,
not really humble in,
Not at
in
all.
any way, shape, or form.
It's true. It's true.
No,
Let's talk
she's
about
so
that.
grumpy pants.
Isn't that kind of why Rand
Yeah.
kind of chose it?
Rand has basically turned her toe into his comic relief. She's just become the jester for this whole gathering.
Oh man.
It's like it's a Marx Brothers moment every time she shows up.
Yeah, it's really funny. Not 5 minutes into the conversation, Rand asks Perrin to go to Tyr.
I know.
Yeah.
He's there. By the way,
Not a good move, Rand.
would you go to Tyr?
So Perrin tells Rand he can't leave right away because he has some business to attend to, and then Rand goes into a diatribe about all his concerns.
2 months
I mean,
on the road.
He's been a traveling man. But
Yeah, he's come a long way to arrive here.
Rand's got.
And then he's
things
like,
to
meanwhile,
do.
these other folk are just traveling by stepping through a doorway.
Right, because Rand can step through a doorway and get just about anywhere, and he can certainly do that to send Perrin
help
to
others
Tyr.
out.
But
Right.
Perrin needs a
Yeah,
moment.
that's what he
He
said.
needs to catch his breath.
Yeah. And he's got conversations.
Perrin asks if Moiraine can't help with some of these problems that Rand is having, and Rand gives Perrin the bad news that
Rough.
Moiraine is no more.
Rough.
Thanks, Perrin, for having
Thanks.
to have that brought up.
Like
again.
we just got another reminder. Let's take a paper cup
Why
and
don't you
pour
just-
lemon juice on it.
You just stole my line.
It's 'cause
Rand
I was
catches
one
Perrin
step
up on
ahead.
what is happening with the Aes Sedai, but stops after a bit and asks after his own home.
I'm gonna pour some
And
out
for a
Moiraine.
moment, the two laugh as they did before this story began. But when Perrin asks Rand if Rand will come to the camp of the Two Rivers people, Rand says he can't for their protection. And that brings
can't
the
get personal.
conversation to a close.
He can't get personal.
But not before Rand asks Perrin to
Well-
think on Tyr, and that if his friend agrees to go, Rand will fill him in on a plan that only 4 others know.
Does he say, "Think of me"?
He goes on to tell the man that if he is informed, he can't tell Fail
Thank you, Adam. I
or
appreciate
anybody else about the plan.
Can it be?
that.
Which takes us to chapter 46, Beyond
46.
the Gates. So Perrin leaves Rand and sees Davra and
Beyond the gate.
Bashir at the end of the hallway. He braces his confidence and approaches the Saldaean general. They walk to Bashir's rooms, and Davran basically accuses Perrin of marrying Fail for Davran's
a
money and
small man.
titles. Perrin rebuffs him, saying that once he learned who her father was, he almost decided against the marriage with Fail. It seems that Fail was too young to marry without her mother's permission, and therefore
Yeah, what
was
is that
in-
age?
was in
don't know.
conversation with her mother while the two men spoke over whether or not the marriage would be annulled.
I think it's funny that Perrin here says, I loved her. I mean, I love her.
Right. If she can't convince her mother, then she will have to stay with her mom, and Davram will have to kill Perrin.
Oh, that's not a good start.
He
He
seemed
gleefully
very
wants to
excited
kill
about
Perrin.
that. I don't know much about this Davram fella, but I know
We
that
kind
one-
of
What do
do
you
at
mean you
this
don't know
point.
much about Davram?
We've been
Oh, I
hearing a
know.
lot
We know
about him.
much. I'm talking about in battle with Perrin.
Oh, okay. I'm with you on that.
One is a Taviran. So
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
put my money on Perrin.
All right, but let's hope nobody has to kill anybody over a marriage. How about that?
Well,
Well, maybe.
At a certain
I
point,
hope for that.
Perrin gets furious with Bashir, and that seems to turn the tide of the conversation to Perrin's favor. What?
Yeah.
The
That
two,
changed
Oh,
real
I like
fast.
this
the two conclude with some advice from Bashir about women and then head off to meet with Fail and her mother. Lady
Women
Dylan.
just sometimes say things that they think are real and they're not.
I'm sorry, I said Lady Dylan. I meant Lady Dyra. When they reach Dyra, Bashir's room.
Dira.
When they reach Dira Bashir's rooms, Perrin can hear a heated argument from within.
And slapping.
Davram politely
slap.
knocks on the door, and the argument quickly stops. The men enter the room, and Perrin can see each woman has slapped the other. His wife's
But who slapped first? That's
his-
what I want to know.
His wife gives him a brief smile of reassurance, kisses him on the cheek, and tells Perrin it's all up to him now. Before Perrin can speak, Dira addresses him. She rattles off a bunch of gender theory involving strong women needing a stronger man, which would not be popular during this day and age, but we'll leave the Saldaean culture out of it. While
Or will we?
talking, she has
I don't
been-
know if we need
she's
to.
been poking Perrin firmly in the chest. Perrin finally gets sick of that poking and asks her to stop with a growl. There's a little more from Dira, but then Davram seems to come to Perrin's aid, resolving the issue in Perrin's favor.
Do you know the first time that I was grabbed by my hair and put in place?
Right.
How good it felt?
Right. That was.
Do you know?
Is that a woman's voice you're doing right there?
Well, you know, what is a woman?
How many cigars
Do
and
you
brandy
know?
has that woman had? We then join Rand, who's just shut the door on Perrin's exit. It seems Rand needs Perrin and Tyr to solidify the city as a decoy for Samael. Min appears, and they discuss her impressions of Fael.
He just
Looks
wants
like-
to use him as bait.
Looks like she thinks Fael was bullying Perrin, and she concludes Perrin has found his falcon, but she fears what will happen when that falcon meets the hawk that is destined to arrive.
She does not like her.
She doesn't really like the way that she treats Perrin. Yeah.
Which
She's
is
concerned with that.
seems to this point just to be her.
Min is like the antithesis of a controlling person. And Fael
Yeah,
is literally
she's had
a
to fight
controlling
against
person.
it her entire life.
Yeah, so she's not gonna like that. She's not gonna, find that to be something she jibes well with, I would think.
Yeah, there are two.
They're two dynamically opposite people.
We get another brief bout between Rand and Luz, who will not simply go away when told now.
Nope.
Rand
No
asks,
big deal.
Yeah. Right. No big deal.
He's just there all the time.
It'll be fine. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
He's like, it's okay. This thing has its own little different personality in my head now.
Oh boy.
It's just always there.
And we're not even halfway through this story.
Yeah.
Rand asks if Min has seen anything while he and Perrin were together, and she says that the motes of light battling the darkness around Rand held steady when Perrin was near. She goes on to say that Perrin will twice have to be near Rand or Rand will die.
That's really fascinating.
Rand replies he better keep Perrin around then, and Min says that's no guarantee Rand's life will be spared.
I mean, I read into it, but I don't know what that it means. Maybe
She said something bad will happen. So I don't know what that is. Maybe
it's not good, is what
she
it is.
she said bad and then very, very bad, and she was clearly holding back. The narrative is to indicate it's death. She doesn't come right out and say it because she just doesn't want to say it, right? Because
I didn't read it that way, but okay.
We also
I thought maybe he would lose an arm.
Right, yeah. Right. Yes. That seems like the type of specific thing that people typically think of when something bad is going to occur. I do automatically jump to the loss of the right arm. We also learn that she has informed Rand of Marana Sedai visiting Lord Pelavar. Prior to leaving, Min gives Rand a kiss, which he says he wishes she wouldn't do any longer. And she refers to the fact that he has yet to start weeping, so she's going to keep on doing it.
And he notices that they're getting longer
Yeah.
and longer.
Right. And then she leaves.
Bye.
And Rand has another battle with
See ya.
Luz Theron,
Oh, boy.
where Theron suggests that 9 Aes Sedai at once is too dangerous.
Maybe.
The former Aes Sedai also says that he's not dead.
I'm not dead.
Right, yeah. Rand ponders what he should do with the Aes Sedai if they are collaborating with nobles who are threatening rebellion if Elaine is not put on the throne soon. And then we leave him and jump to Demira Arif, who is eyeing the Oregon Gate.
Which is not to be confused with the
hopes
Oregon
of a message
Gate.
from her spy, Millen Hardner, the
Oregon Gate
second
has-
librarian for the Royal Palace.
Has dysentery.
She's trying to gain information on the seals to the Dark One's prison from books she had him look for. He doesn't show up, and because she receives some flirtatious winks from a cartman, she ducks into a narrow service alley.
It's a hello.
And then runs into some Aiel that she thinks were following her and is stabbed by a couple
They
of
were
them.
following her, but for nefarious reasons.
So we leave her
He just came
dying
I was like,
and flash
Wow.
back to Perrin.
Yeah, I agreed. That came out of nowhere,
Cut
right?
back, yes. That
Wow.
that whole episode
Whoa.
comes out of nowhere. Like we're watching
Wow.
this woman who's eyeing
Zowie.
this gate, and And she flittingly mentions she's being followed by, or it seems like maybe she's being followed by some Aiel, and then she really is, and they kill her.
You know what it was? It was a squat fellow with villainous eyes.
We cut to Perrin and Fael, who return to their rooms. There's another humorous episode with Sulin, the servant, as she shows them their rooms.
She's like, here's your rooms.
Here's your rooms. Here's your wine.
Take your drinks.
I'll be back later to fluff the pillows.
And I'll do a good job.
It'll be great. You'll love it.
Low voice like this.
While
You've never slept this well before.
While undressing Fael tells Perrin that Rand should be thought of as a king and that kings sometimes use their friends as tools. We then return to Demira, who is not dead and is actually tucked into her own bed. She's been looked after by her warders Steven, Marana Sedai, and Berenicia.
Haven't we had a Pevin and now we've got a Steven?
Yeah.
Elaine.
And, Bernicia.
Egwene. Yeah.
The group determines that Demira was not meant to die, but deliver the message one of the Aiel delivered to her. Tell the other witches to stay away from the dragon reborn. They discuss a few responses, and then Varen pops into the doorway and takes over the embassy from Marana.
I don't think Varen is wearing Adam's skimpy clothing.
Varen, doesn't matter. She's still sashaying.
She suggests Demira should offer the first suggestion since her blood was spilled. In the end, they decide to send no Aes Sedai to Rand for several days.
None.
As a message to Rand that he sucks.
Their underwear is in a twist.
We're not going to send anyone to you.
Yeah,
I'm going to throw a snippet fit.
We're going to passively, aggressively communicate with you.
It's not a
Chapter
good start.
47, The Wandering Woman.
The Wandering Woman.
The Wandering Woman.
Elaine approaches Matt and asks if he'll join her for a walk. Then proceeds to tell Matt that it's only with her permission that he is not required to relinquish his terangrial to her, and that he will give her the relic every night to inspect.
Like, I love Elaine, but come on, girl.
Matt rudely rebuffs her. That's very kind of you to let me keeping what's mine.
Go, Matt.
Yeah. And she ends the walk. A little while later, Matt's medallion goes cold, and he looks up to see the entire group of Aes Sedai lined up and staring at him. He continues to get occasional glances from them until he goes to sleep. They travel a couple of days, and Egwene continues to try to undermine Matt's authority by double-checking his work. The other Aes Sedai are treating Matt poorly, and Nynaeve is avoiding him altogether.
I don't know that Matt has shoddy work.
As Matt discusses Ibu Dar with Tom, Julian, and Alessian,
they were worried about what they ate, though.
He begins to realize the city is a place where the scales are heavily tipped in women's favor. The women continue to try to test the limit of Matt's medallion when Adelius flings a ball of dung at him.
Adelius. And do you think it's unusual that things tip in the women's favor in these books? Not at all.
I mean, it depends on what society you're in.
Well, Jordan is just like, I like women.
The realization that the women can use the power to throw things at Matt is so disconcerting to him that he begins drinking to excess and has to be carried to bed.
Does it take much?
He says he's never had that much to drink before. That had to be
that had to be a lot.
That had to be.
He had to be soused.
Yes,
you'd have to be like, Matt, I love being around you, but this is too much.
They arrive at Ibu Dar on the 5th day of travel and head to the palace square.
Great place to arrive.
And on the 5th day, they arrived at Ibu Dar.
Upon arrival at the square, Matt can feel the dice rolling in his head.
Isn't that a moment of concern for everyone?
Dice in my head. Oh, I don't know. Good things usually happen after that.
Good things?
And after Van Dien indicates that they'll enter the palace by one of the lesser gates, Matt determines he and his men will stay at the inn in the square, and he chooses one at random.
He's like, that one. And then they all look at each other.
Chapter 48, leaning
but then
on
he
the
feels
knife.
The dice is no longer rolling in his head. So is that good or bad?
Chapter 48 joins Nynaeve, Elaine, and company in the Terrazin Palace. They discuss their poor treatment by the other Aes Sedai. Nynaeve continues to hammer at the idea she thinks Marilil, Van Dien, and Adelius are hiding something. Elaine seems content with their stated purpose of searching for runaways. Nynaeve also recalls the manner in which Birgitte revealed her identity to Egwene. So now Egwene finally knows who Brigitte is, and we can get rid of that awkwardness. A servant enters and says the queen wishes to see the 3 Aes Sedai. Elaine can't figure out who the 3rd Aes Sedai is, but after discussing it amongst themselves, they agree that Brigitte and Avienda will go scouting the city while Elaine and Nynaeve visit the queen. On their way to the queen, they pass Jacob Carradine.
Oh, boy.
Upon meeting Queen
Good
Tyler,
guy.
Elaine and Nynaeve
Said
are
no one
impressed
ever.
by the woman's composure.
So happy to see you.
Jacob, the drunk.
How's things?
How's toots?
How's the hangings?
Right.
Upon meeting Queen Tylan, Elaine and Nynaeve are impressed by the woman's composure, and the queen questions their age relative to their positions as Aes Sedai. Elaine apologizes
Here
for
we
the
go.
Aes Sedai's presence in Ibu Dar, along with the army they possess, and she goes on to say that the army will be heading on its way out of the country soon. Tylan says this is the first apology she's heard and asks the 2 young Aes Sedai to be at ease and speak freely.
Yep.
As Nynaeve and Elaine try to find their footing, Tylan informs them that Tesslin and Jolene are there to represent the Tower, Tower 1, and Carradine is there to represent the White Cloaks. Nynaeve asks why Tolerant has to tolerate the visit by Carradine, and Tylan discusses how tenuous her
Tolerant,
position
why you
is,
tolerate
and that to hold her nation together,
Right,
she
agreed.
has to bend to the White Cloaks. She intends to hand the throne over to her son Beslin, and this is the only way forward to make that happen. After telling the 2 young women her position, she asks them their purpose. Elaine tells Tylan about how they first found the bowl and what it can do, and that they're there looking for it.
We're just looking for a bowl.
Queen takes well to Elaine's honesty, and the group sits and chats for quite some time before Elaine and Nynaeve return to their rooms.
I like this queen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like what she's doing so far, but maybe it's all
A ruse?
Might be
who
hoodwinking.
knows. But we do
Hoodwinking.
find out ages here.
Right, because Tylan, sort of guesses at their ages, and they
Yeah.
have
So
to-
Nynaeve is 26, and then it's laid out pretty much that Elaine is 18, and so is Egwene, which is crazy.
And I'm pretty sure that they were 16 when this story started. So we're
That would have
as
to be
we've
what it
guessed,
is,
We're,
yeah.
we're somewhere around 2.5 years into the story.
Yeah, but it is so surprising. He got me, even though I know these ages. It's just, oh yeah, and the Amerlin.
The Amerlin
one's
is
18
is
also.
18 years old, yeah. Is a teenager. On their
Yeah.
way back, Elaine makes a bet with Nynaeve that she'll have Matt knuckling his forehead before 10 days are up. So, Adam,
Oh, good.
what shook your
I'm
willow?
glad that's going to happen. What shook mine? Me.
No, what shook? No, I want you to tell me what
me.
shook David's willow this week.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
Whoever that guy
I-
is. I don't know who
oh,
he
I would
is.
like to do that one week actually to try to guess. Oh, can I guess what shook
No.
Dave's?
You
No,
got-
that's
there you go.
stupid.
We know
you
who
can
Dave
you
is.
can certainly try to guess somebody's Coplin or somebody's who leveled up, but try to guess somebody's willow is
I know, but
absolutely
I
ridiculous.
I
I
would
would
have more
love if
money
you
on it,
did.
and if I got it right, I'd feel
And
so
I'm the
good.
controller of me, so, not Eric.
I'm the
Mine-
controller
mine-
of me, not you.
Mhm.
Me.
Mine has to do with Matt and Julian. Pardon me, Tom and Julian.
That's quite a bit of 2 different people.
It is a much different, but it
It's a
also
much
involves Matt
nice.
because when Matt's around them, he notices that they're kind of, I don't know how to say it other than they're worry warts now.
Tom and Julian are? Julian definitely is.
That's what he noticed about them is that they seem to be worrying about something and they seem to have more care in the world instead of
Doesn't-
what they used to be.
I know he says that about Julian. I think his impression of Tom is that Tom is under thumb.
Tom Thumb?
I think his impression of Tom is like what it has always been, honestly, because he's not really ever that impressed with Tom because he doesn't really know what Tom.
Oh no, I think
I'm
he's-
impressed with
remember,
Tom.
remember, he learned how to play the flute by Tom. I think he and how
Yeah,
to
and the
juggle.
harp.
They
And
did
the
spend a
harp.
lot of time together. That's 100% true.
I think you're right. Your impression, because remember that
He keep thinking Tom
he can't
thinks more than
imagine-
he thinks he is.
right.
Well, he's
because
also like,
because
that
he can't
guy's
imagine
old.
that Tom would actually have
He's
been
not
a
a court bard.
Right, exactly. Like he can't believe that. So that's where your impression of some of that disrespect comes from, for sure. But
You slap down that resistance.
but at the same time, they
Slap it down.
traveled a very long time with the man, and I think he really
true.
likes him.
He thinks Tom has delusions of grandeur.
I think he does like him, and I think he kind of misses him when he's in that moment with him.
Yes,
He's
he
like-
does miss
He's
him,
like,
and-
"Something's what's up with you?"
Right, he's not getting the same guy, so he's
Also,
so
where's your
he's
cloak?
disappointed
Where's
by
his
that.
cloak?
Yeah, he needs the patchy cloak.
Well, he's
Where
not
is
trying
it?
to attract attention at this point. It's packed up in
That's
a duffel
it.
bag
That's
somewhere.
why. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's in his gym bag.
That does make sense that he wouldn't be wearing it around because everybody would be like, "Give us a juggle, governor."
What shook
Hello,
your willow
Governor.
is Tom and Julin.
Yeah, just the fact that Matt noticed that they seemed like they were different people now, and I'm wondering if that just has to do with the fact that they're worried about. Like Tom seems beaten down because he agreed to.
But every time he's around Elaine, he seems happy.
He made an agreement with Elaine. He said, like, basically, you can tell me to do whatever, and I'm going to say
he made a foolish
yes.
bargain with Elaine.
That did not end well.
And now he has to deal with the repercussions of it.
Yeah,
There's always repercussions.
it just brought it up again through Matt's eyes that's one. And then Julin also, is that just because he's just super worried about Elaine? Like, what is that? I feel like he's super worried about the girls.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that now
it
he
sure
has
seems
something
like
to
he's
die for.
really taken that burden on, and
Yeah.
he must think that Ibu Dar is just a terrible idea, because I don't recall Julin being this way previous to this point. Do either of you?
No.
No.
So that sort of caught me off guard that Julin has become this morose and put upon. It was a little weird.
Yeah, I just feel like he's worried about something now. They actually has something to lose.
So what shook my willow was Matt's bow to Egwene in chapter 44.
Oh, right.
Matty Ice.
Love it. Love it. Matty Ice.
Matty
No.
Ice.
Way better than
No,
Matty
he's not
Ice.
Matty Ice.
Matty
He's-
Ice.
I'm sorry I brought that up.
Matty
I forgot
Ice,
that
the
that's actually-
Choke King.
I forgot that was actually a nickname for someone else.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why you know it.
There's a reason
Well,
why he was
has
I
nothing
also
to do
like
with
to
these
I've had
books.
a lot of natty Ice in my life.
Oh,
so-
right, yeah.
Natty
okay.
Ice is different than Matty
Wow, that's
Ice.
funny. I just realized that that's where that reference came from. That's
that what it is?
hilarious.
See,
Yeah.
we're
Matty
all
Ice is a
learning
ripoff of
things.
Natty Ice?
Yep. That's absolutely
That's
where it came
terrible.
from.
Adam,
Good.
Oh, you
good
didn't know
on
that,
you,
Dave?
Adam.
Everybody's learning things. We're all learning. This is great.
You were learning things left and right. Yeah, so Matt's bow to Egwene. He can clearly see that she's being ignored and disrespected by the other Aes Sedai, so he decides to bolster her authority by bowing to her and kissing the ring, which is definitely not something he would have done.
Which is different
other
than smelling
this.
the glove.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know if
maybe.
it's too different. I don't know if it's too different than smelling the glove. You're definitely
Smell the
lowering
glove.
yourself in order to elevate somebody else.
It's too bad they had to change that album cover.
Yes, one of the most disappointing moments in rock music history.
A Stonehenge.
This is
Where
the
the
thing that
demons
keeps
dwell
redeeming
and the-
Matt's character, right? Is that he continuously, I mean, every once in a while he'll have these moments where he acts nobly.
Matt
but
is
then
the
the
king
rest
of
of the
moments.
time he's a complete scalawag. That's right. Scalawag.
I would have loved to see that bow. It would have been such a good
He
bow.
would
I
have-
mean, I can see it.
He
in my
would have
head.
flourished with the best of them.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Matt does.
See, he would
you-
have probably learned.
Matt
From
is the
Tom.
king of rising.
He would
to
have
the
learned from
moment.
Tom how to flourish, whatever
Yes,
it is he is
with
wearing.
his patchwork cloak.
Yeah, that friendship.
Yeah.
He can make a good leg. Dave,
The
what shook
burning
your
of
willow?
the burning of all friendships.
My willow
That's
wish-
what these books are about.
Yes,
Sorry.
it is.
Sorry.
Keep going.
It's
I'm
the bonfire of the
I'm
friendships.
here for it.
I love that
Harrison,
book.
little
Thomas
Harrison
Wolfe.
Ford moment. My Willow was naive and her aversion from Matt. And she's like hiding behind horses, hiding behind people, peering at him over like countertops, just like
What is she doing?
she's scared of him because Matt said he was going to beat her butt for like what the nonsense she pulled when she was like,
There's that, but also don't forget that Elaine told her to stay away
Right.
from Matt because she doesn't want her to get riled up around him.
right. and now she's just like completely like, anytime Matt comes near, she like scurries away. It's just so funny. And it keeps going.
It's
I wonder,
great.
I know, when is this going to end? Like, what's it going to take for this moment to stop? Because it's several chapters now. It just and I don't know how much that time it is in their world, but it just keeps going on and on.
5 minutes, Dave.
Right, it's 5
right,
minutes.
yeah.
And Matt, meanwhile, has no idea what this is about. Like, he's like, what is wrong with this woman?
But what he does
I
know
love
is
it. I wanted
everybody
to
is
keep
staying
up.
away from him. Everyone. Tom and Julian can't come near him.
Yeah, but it's not like Nynaeve.
Brigitte is constantly
she's like
hiding
peering at
from
one
him.
eye over like a countertop. Like it's just ridiculous.
Well, right, but none of his former compatriots will stick around him, and it's really frustrating.
They're afraid of his gambling
Brigitte was
skills.
doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on and talk about the Aes Sedai and Aes Aes Baby. In chapter 43, it seems that Marana half suspects Min of revealing information to Rand, right? So the chapter begins, they're riding along in that cart on the way back from the embassy. All of the Aes Sedai are sort of sneaking looks at Min, who is half sleeping in the carriage. And they think that because Rand has demonstrated knowledge of the salad bar and also the fact that Elaine is there, like he knows those things, and they think that their location and who's there is this tremendous secret, even though everybody knows it.
Right.
It's so funny they still think that.
Well, right.
But
so
I guess
they think that,
information travels slowly.
They think that Min
is,
passing state secrets to Rand.
They don't know Min.
She is. No, she is. She is, but she didn't need to tell him these things. Everyone knows this. It's an open secret that the whole world knows.
The whole world.
Everybody important in the world.
At least that is all the people we're discussing.
Well, those involved that want to know these things, that would actually be seeking out where they are. It seems pretty well known.
It's just funny that these women think that they've kept this thing a tremendous secret, and yet Pedro Niall knows, Rand knows.
The Shadow knows.
Those are the two biggest opponents of those are the other two large political.
The Shadow, Dave,
entities.
no big deal.
The only other thing that would
the Shadow is rising after all
is that we find out that like Lady Tylan knows or somebody along those lines.
No, what it really is that nobody knows.
Yeah, but everybody knows. See, that's the thing. News of
I don't
Logain,
think Don Quixote knows.
News of Logain and the Reds. That whole story that Swan is spinning, that lie that she's creating, has convinced Varen and Alana that Elida can't remain the Amerlin seat anymore.
Wait, which lie are we discussing?
Remember that Swan is creating a lie that Logain was freed by the Reds.
Yeah.
So that lie ends up actually convincing Varen and Alana to support Tower 2.
Right. I mean, it's spread its own wings and it's flying.
I think we would agree that Varen's a pretty important Aes Sedai. So that lie is already reaping huge benefits. Through Marana, we get another description of the tower's unofficial hierarchy, right? So we get, how important the power is because she's terrified that Varen is going to take over the embassy that she's in charge of, and because she's a gray, right?
Why is she so scared of this?
Well, because she's in charge.
Yeah.
She's the leader of this group. Like she's been empowered to head up this embassy, and she's a negotiator. Like that's what the Greys do is they negotiate, and now Varen, who is a Brown, we see it, we witness it. She takes over the group eventually.
Right.
That's exactly what Marana's afraid of.
And we all know the White Tower's all about these levels of command and authority and all that sort of stuff tied in with that. I kind of feel bad for her.
Yeah, I feel bad for her too.
But at the same time, she's not doing the job.
No, she is doing the job.
Not well enough.
But Varen's
she's doing a fine job, other than the fact that
she is not Varen in
Min
Adam's skimpy clothing.
Telling Rand
Varen
about where the salad bar is.
Even though I don't know if I
concerned
should
about
trust who
Varen.
Varen is.
Exactly. Varen's a mystery wrapped in.
She is a bit of a mystery, but anytime she's around, she's gathering information. She's spitting it out.
We finally get an Aes Sedai sense of what Alana has done to Rand. All the other Aes Sedai are in complete disapproval of this move.
Until she brings up the fact that she can feel that wound of his.
No,
and they're like,
still
it's not a big deal. We've all felt that before.
It's not that they think it's not a big deal. It's just that they think it's something that they can get past. None of them think that this is a good idea.
No, clearly, because they use the hard R, as I said before, and I don't want to get that confused. I mean the RAPED word. I could just say rape. I don't know why I didn't say it. I saw it in my head, and then after I said it, I was like,
That doesn't mean anything. You keep using that word.
Right.
I don't think it means
No
what
one
you
else
think it
knows
means.
what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to describe it. But I did.
We've got a couple of different examples of unorthodox bonding. We also see how the Aes Sedai really disapprove of both examples of it, right? Because there's Elaine's bonding of Brigitte and Alana's bonding of Rand, and in neither case is this acceptable.
Do they disapprove of Elaine's because of how she did it, or because it is a woman?
Woman.
Yeah, it's because it's a woman. How many other female warders are we aware
Well,
of?
no, that was brought up, but I didn't know if they would also disapprove with how she did it.
Which, by the way,
But, I mean,
There's a lot of
3
disapproval.
cheers for the Aes Sedai, not
hip,
approving
hooray.
of Alana's bonding of Rand.
yeah.
I mean,
for real.
just bonding somebody without their permission.
They don't, but at the same time, they're kind of like, good on you. We got
No.
to link in.
They're not good on you.
No, but they do. They do. At the same time, they
One of
don't
them
approve of it,
compares
but
it
at the
to
same
rape.
time, yes. But at the same time,
They
they
do- I
recognize
agree with Dave.
that they did need it. Someone would have done it.
I think they learn to live with it, yes. And if you're going to accept something, one of the logical next steps is to try to find, okay, how can we use this? What's good about this, right? What's the silver lining to this rain cloud? And the silver lining that they align on are the things that you mentioned, that maybe somebody else would have done it and we beat them to the punch. We now have a link to Rand. There are definitely positives that they take away from it. But given the moment where this was going to happen, I draw the conclusion that all of them would have told her not to do it.
I don't know.
I do see. I do. I mean, now I'm saying I see both of your points, but
I get
wait a
what you're
minute.
saying.
no,
I'm
because
just
this is
saying
the
what
first time
happens
that this is
post
actually
facto.
brought up, right? This is the first time that we're honestly dealing with what
I feel like
what the
everyone's
repercussions
like,
of
you
this
shouldn't
are.
have done it, but you did it, so it's okay.
I mean, it's okay.
I get that you're
because
saying it's
what is
okay, but
what is
there's a
choice?
lot of description here that's given to us that is saying
Yeah, they all
they
choice
bring it up
toil at
once
it.
and then
The
they bring it
choice
up
is they
again
could
at
kill
the end.
Alana. That's the choice.
Yeah, they could kill an Aes Sedai.
Which
How
they're
many-
not above doing.
Yes. How many short stories have we had about the murdering of Aes Sedai?
I mean, they've referenced it before.
But-
They've referenced about other Aes Sedai being
way back in time, right?
right, sure,
Not
but
currently.
it's not done. Like for people who have, or not even murdering her, excommunicating her, or putting her off, or handing that bond off to somebody else, or whatever, because that can be done.
That would be another huge step.
What was that? Huge?
Yeah, I mean, the hugest step that we've seen really so far has been stilling, which is a huge step.
Right, but that's
was a lot
handled
of-
by a rogue Aes Sedai. These
and you
women,
have to have a lot of people. Well, 13 people involved.
These
so
women
12.
are trying to avoid being rogues.
Right.
I mean, we've seen how the Tower continuously tries to avoid confrontation with Tower, or how Tower 2 continuously tries to avoid confrontation with Tower 1. Even while these women are in rebellion, they keep trying to maintain the orthodoxy.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't see them taking a radical step and disenfranchising Alana over this. They're going to try to find a way to sort of just deal with it, and I think that that's what they've done. And then once you've taken that step, then the next logical step in your mind is to try to figure out some way to justify it, right? Oh, well, somebody else would have done it, or now we can use it, and we have a tie to Rand, and like there are all these good things that we can sort of come from it, so we can deal with the ickiness that we're experiencing over what you've done. Does that make sense?
It does, but it's done.
Right, exactly.
What I think is great is that this is actually Jordan actually brought this up. I hope he like kind of explores it a little more through time, going through it to find out that how actually another Aes Sedai could look at this situation as being bad. I hope that Dave is not right in the fact that it's just going to be glossed over. I hope that maybe there's going to be more of this by other Aes Sedai looking at her and being like, "Rrr."
It seems one of the reasons that Alana has been weeping constantly, because remember, we get these reflections from Rand where she's just crying all the time, is actually due to the wound in Rand's side and her experience from it.
Whoa! I did not pick up on that. Interesting.
It's one
That makes sense.
Well, it's that coupled with the fact that she's dealing with the death of her warder. So it's not that alone, but now she's got two things that cause her deep emotional pain, which just magnifies her depression, essentially.
Pain. Rand's not bringing her any pleasure.
Seonid says that Rand is as arrogant as a king. Everything Elaine and Nynaeve said and more, really. And then Missouri ties his arrogance to Rand's claim of knowing when a woman was channeling and when she isn't, which we know Rand can actually do.
But they apparently don't believe it.
Yeah, they were like, just give us a chance and then we'll show you.
This is an Aes Sedai thing, right?
Pride.
Even faced with the Dragon Reborn, they assume that they know everything and that no man could possibly know something they don't know, even though
100%.
They've never witnessed a male Aes Sedai really before.
Right. They're like, no big deal. We could also just have you come into our own arms and we could control you.
Yeah, it's just their institutional arrogance. It's crazy.
But they're better. It's Tower 2. Eric, they're better.
After Karen says Elaine may yet be found.
Karen
replies, "Men say many things, Lady Dylan, but you know I do not lie." This is just the interaction between Dylan and Karen and her trying to push him over the top. So chapter 44 is when Matt dances with Erengar. Erengar tries to channel at Matt, right? So he has that moment where after he dances with her/him, his medallion goes cold and he looks back and Erengar is staring at him. Halima is staring at him.
Oh,
What
dancing.
do you think Halima tried to do to him there?
Zip zap.
No, I don't know. Like, I feel like, you feel like she was trying to, he.
Whatever.
But that's important for the power with his necklace.
Well, we learned through this that Saidin, it works against both Saidin and Saidar. So we learned that from that moment.
Did we?
Yeah.
You think that's what's happening? Okay, interesting.
He channels.
Well, if that's what's happening,
he channels.
That's going to happen with him and Rand eventually. I don't like
what.
That's a stretch.
Matt and Rand. Maybe Rand tries to do something to Matt, but he has the necklace on and he can't do it.
You think what?
I
don't even know how to respond. That's what you get from that moment?
No, I'm not getting it from that. Well, I'm thinking, maybe that would happen.
Okay.
And Matt would be like,
let's just deal with the fact that we just learned that this medallion prevents both forms of the power from affecting Matt.
If I'm right about that, I'm going to be not remember I brought this up.
But what do you think the other Forsaken was doing to him?
Like I said, I feel like maybe trying to set him on fire.
You think he was trying to light him on fire?
I'm really sad I can't think of it, but what is it that Rand was always told by not to use that will, if you kill someone with it, it will turn back time in bad ways?
You could see balefire. This wasn't visible. Whatever was tried.
No. But would Matt's medallion work against balefire?
No.
Okay. I wasn't assuming that it would be balefire.
Okay.
Eric, in your idea, what do you think this person was trying to do to Matt?
I said, I think that compulsion would be the thing worth attempting there. It doesn't matter.
That'd be a better
doesn't
thing
work.
To use. Yeah, that would be a much more. Yeah, that would be
interesting.
A good.
So my question is with compulsion, as from what we've seen it so far, haven't we mostly always seen it come from women?
We have, and I think we understand that women operate better with spirit, which I think is the major, the major.
I can't pretend
element for compulsion, but we don't know what the Forsaken are exceptional in all sorts of different ways. So
wait, Morgaze wasn't. She didn't get taken over by compulsion.
She did. Yep.
Yeah.
You're right. And
That
that was a man.
Yeah, it was a man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Adam for the win.
I think that's also in the minority of how many times we've seen it with Mogedi and
Well, but
Sure,
it
but
doesn't
there's
matter. It's another
only so
example
many
of a
Forsaken.
a male Forsaken understanding how
And
to
there are
use
only so
compulsion.
many men that we've seen be able to channel in general.
Right. Yeah.
Well, not anymore.
right. It's growing.
Yeah, now there's a minor league system.
We get exposure to Demir Arif. We have another instance of like gender pride here with her. She bristles at Rand's requirement to be required that the Aes Sedai be required to enter the city, inform Rand of their entry into the city. She finds it repugnant that, she has to reveal that to a man. But what is this little tiny story with Demira? Like, why is this here? What a weird little episode.
I have no idea what this side story is.
so someone
Distrust of Rand.
distrust
and
of
thinking
Rand
that Rand
with
is
the
the
Aes
one.
Sedai.
I doubt
this is either-
Rand is the
this
one
is
that
either-
sent this person.
this is either Black Aja or these are Forsaken operating here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then the Aes Sedai's petty reaction to this is absolutely absurd.
But it isn't.
It's
No,
not very
it isn't
wise,
absurd.
but I guess it makes-
completely.
It's not that absurd.
It's
from
completely
what they-
understandable
Yeah, it's understandable.
because they're playing the strings exactly like they think they should be played.
Yeah, it's annoying, but it's understandable.
Annoying, absolutely. Understandable, yes. I hate it because
I think
no
it's
one's
pretty
doing
good
a
writing.
bit of background research whatsoever. It's all emotionally driven. That's all it is.
You're like,
There's
know.
no logic
We
behind it. It's all emotions.
It's pride driven, isn't it?
Pride is an emotion. So yes.
Yeah, it's the fact that they don't want to bow down to, they don't want to suborn their authority to Rand in any way, shape, or form, even though they've had to do that already. Why would Rand go through all of the instances that he's done of, putting rules on how they can come into the city and who can come in and when, and then go out and try to have them killed? Like, how, if he was going to have them killed, he could have just killed them right away. It just
That's
seems
true, but
so foolish to me that they jump to this conclusion that it's him as opposed to somebody else trying to interfere.
But you're once again using
They're
logic
very
versus
stubborn
feelings
folk.
and emotions.
I'm using logic, right, with
Right,
Aes Sedai,
which is-
who are
which is-
supposed to be savvy.
But that's only the browns and the gray.
Maybe if there were more whites among them,
Well,
they would,
okay.
and grays, they wouldn't have reached these conclusions.
Maybe
the
they've got
whites
one.
and grays are logical, Adam. So think about the title of this book, The Lord of Chaos. We're slowly
chaos.
witnessing chaos continue to develop, and this is another chaotic element now in Camelin. Think about it. These chapters begin with the Aes Sedai coming back from a fairly positive interaction with Rand, and this episode has just completely thrown that on its head.
Well-placed plan by whoever did it.
Right. Well, right. And the Aes Sedai are acting like a bunch of suckers.
But if it just turns out to be Rand,
It does end
he's
up
like,
being
my
Rand.
bad.
Sorry, I didn't actually kill you.
a not very calculated move here.
To wrap this up, this situation with Elaine and Nynaeve being Aes Sedai seems to be coming to a boil too, right?
Well, Nynaeve is focusing and dodging out of Matt's sight, so
Hiding behind horses.
She's very busy. She's skirting around like a little cricket.
She's busy dodging and weaving. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a Taviran.
I don't even know what that means.
That's what Nynaeve is doing.
I don't understand the payoff or the lead-in.
It's Patches O'Houlihan.
You named names. You know his name. That's
You
not
named
his name.
names.
Because that's not his name, right?
That is his name.
Patches O'Houlihan.
It's Patches O'Houlihan. Come on. Dodgeball,
Oh my God.
people.
No,
I
it's been a
know.
while. It's been
I
a
don't
while.
know. I can't believe you could name his name. Is that Rip Torn?
Yes.
Rip
it's
Torn.
Rip
Rip
Torn.
Torn.
It's the great Rip Torn. And
If you can dodge a wrench, if you can dodge an X, you can dodge a
yeah,
Taviran.
right. Yeah.
Can we please
Bang.
make badges that say that? Oh my gosh, that's
Badges.
perfection.
You don't need no
If you can
stinking
dodge
badges.
a wrench, you can dodge a Taviran.
I want a pin that says that.
All right.
Oh my gosh, and it
Let's-
just has an axe.
Let's move on to these leader of Aes Sedai with lead weight here.
It's Scratch.
We've got Egwene and Elaine here. One will become a queen. The other one will become, or is the Amerlin. Egwene is being deliberately isolated by the Aes Sedai, right? So, I mean, she's been elevated to this seat by
Shiriam.
Thank you. Yes. She's elevated Egwene to this position, and now Egwene is being completely frozen out, right, by all the other Aes Sedai in protest, right? They're completely trying to ice her out. I mean, think about Egwene's experience in this. Like, she's smart enough, as she's demonstrated, and politically savvy enough to hold this position, but it's got to be really, really lonely because now she's just sent all her friends away.
How long has she been in this position? How long has
weeks?
this been? Yeah.
No,
There's
not
a
even.
lot
I mean,
happening.
maybe 2 weeks, because remember, the celebrations are still going on.
Oh, right. Well, the celebration she
Matt's
doesn't have any
experience.
part of,
Well,
other than having meetings.
she doesn't really get to be part of it. So, I mean,
You're right. It's going to be.
She sent all of her friends away. These next couple of months for her until they return are gonna suck.
I'm worried about her relationship with Elaine.
Mm.
No, because one's eventually going to be a queen, like you said. The other is the Amerlin. I hope they get along. I hope their friendship actually runs deep.
I think they'll get along because of that. I mean, I think that's one of the things that eventually will drive them together. I mean, fortunately, they've got a good foundation of friendship leading up to this, leading up to those moments. But
Sure.
I think they'll have somebody else who knows what it's like to wear the crown, so to speak. I think that'll be something that will bond them.
I hope it holds steady.
In the meantime, though, Egwene is just screwed.
She's on her own.
Yeah, and she's got Halima and
Delana.
Delana. Yeah, so she's got that to deal with. She's these next couple of weeks are going to be awful for
Swamped.
her. Yeah. And then we've got Elaine, who is traveling along with Matt and just choosing to undermine Matt's authority at every corner.
She's trying to. She's not doing a very good job.
She's just become a pain in the butt. Is she likable to either of you at this point?
She's treating his men well.
Her forbearance of Tom to be able to speak to Matt is absolutely despotic.
I don't even care about that.
You don't?
No, because
You don't want to see Tom and Matt together?
She's so overwhelmed by needing to understand his terangrial that's like all she's focused on.
That's another problem I have with her. Get over. Like, you are not the queen of all terangrial.
But she's the only one that can make one.
But she is the queen.
That's not a connection.
She is. And she's hoping to become even more so by finding the next one.
But no, it absolutely is a connection. What do you mean it's not a connection? She needs to figure it out because she needs to be able to recreate one. Can you imagine how important that would be to be able to recreate that?
That's
that
what she wants
massive.
is more terangrial that make people immune to Aes Sedai in the world?
Yes, absolutely. Can you imagine that? To be able to have the Forsaken not be able to channel you? That is massive.
Can you imagine also a bunch of people not being able to allow you to channel at them?
Wait, Dave, I have a question for you. As I know you're a number one Elaine and a number one Matt fan. Do you think that Matt should have given up it to her to study?
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he needs to set boundaries on that.
How?
I think Matt needs to get something back from it. If you're going to give something up to somebody else,
what if he doesn't want to give it up?
Then he doesn't. That's his right. He earned it. Blood, sweat, and tears.
That's my only point.
It's wise of her to do. She should study that, but
I think she needs to do it. I think that Tower number 2 needs this because they have less resources. They have less recognition in the world. They have less.
What they need
everything.
is more trust.
If they have this,
Matt
this is a
and
massive
Elaine.
+1.
And Matt's just stuck there. Yeah. No.
Yeah, absolutely. And that comes from both parties. It's not just Elaine.
I think it's going to happen eventually because of Matt's going to be really afraid that he's just going to have a giant boulder fall on top of his body.
Or a large pile of poop thrown at him.
Well, I think a boulder is more of a concern.
So Adam, you see in the future Matt becoming a more trusting individual. This is how you see his character developing.
I don't think he's going to be trusting of it, but he's already he's like really worried now about what they can do to him. Where we left Matt was thinking like it's a pretty good thing that he can just deal with them actually using the power on him compared to throwing things at him.
So just to re-examine my point, my point is simply that Elaine, who has been a character who's been totally likable up to this point, though shared the monomania that all of these characters can get into, has now taken it upon herself to be the lord of all Terangrial, and this is Matt's. It's up to him whether or what to do, whether or not he chooses to give it up to be examined or not. And she is trying to treat it as hers because she's the god of all Terangrial, and by right, she has the right to examine it. Whether or not that is a positive for the Aes Sedai or not, I think one could make the argument, though I think that it's short-sighted because you could see the good in what it could do for Elaine, but I think that ignores also the bad that it could do for all the Aes Sedai. It's sort of like the proliferation of nuclear weapons. It just becomes a war of escalation then at a certain point. But the way in which she's choosing to go about this is really poor. That's my only point, and it's making a character that I liked a whole lot very unlikable at the moment. I don't think any of us like the way that she's acting right now.
She's saying, I'm gonna break him in 10 days. Just you wait and see.
Right. And is that good? Is that what you want? That's how you want to procure something is by bullying somebody into doing it.
It is interesting to think about. Well, interesting is a silly word, but to think about the fact that it would be a very powerful thing for the Aes Sedai to have. Yeah.
I still think it'd be unwise. I think you're much better off having this thing be a one-off.
I would agree
rather than looking into replicating it, because I also think that there's an ignorance about like she would be the only one.
Well, I'm a little worried about that with the bracelets in general.
And if any,
like those could be mass produced at some point.
The Adam, I mean, used against Rand, used against any of them, right? Yeah, I mean, anybody else gets their hands on these and knows how to use them. All it requires is somebody sneaking up on a very powerful Aes Sedai,
being the most powerful of all time. So
all the more reason why they should be somebody you'd want to slap an Adam on.
Yeah, no, all these Aes Sedai are learning from what they're doing, so they're trying to figure it out. They are not yet powerful enough, but they'll learn how to travel. They'll learn how to do all this stuff.
So we've been talking about Matt a little bit. Let's jump into the Matt here.
I loved my time with Matt.
Even after being in Saladar a couple of days with Egwene as Amerlin, Matt still doesn't really trust her. That's sort of sad.
All these friendships burning down.
We're really seeing the fracture of these hometown friends here. I mean, it just that whole relationship seems to really be dissolved.
But here's my question. You're saying it was dissolved, but even at the beginning, there was a rift, if you will, amongst them all to begin with anyhow. Egwene always viewed Matt in a certain way. Nynaeve always viewed Matt in a certain way. She viewed Rand in a certain way. The only really close bond was Rand and Egwene, and Rand and Perrin, and Rand and Matt. It was never the girls to the guys. It wasn't at all. It was Egwene and Rand. That was it.
Oh, sure.
You mean between men and women?
Right. So now it's not really any different. It isn't at all.
Well,
they're just from the same town.
In a much bigger world.
That's just time and distance.
He was really happy to see him, but then Rand right away was like, hey, Perrin, can you go do this?
Right, which is something that Fael warned Perrin about.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rand and Matt are far closer than Matt
and Rand and
Egwene.
Yeah.
But don't forget that this whole group of individuals traveled from the two rivers all the way to the waste and found the Eye of the World together.
And the Green Man.
I mean, think about this from a collegiate experience. Like if you go from or even a high school experience, if you go from junior high to high school and you have some friends or some, not even friends, some people that you're familiar with from your junior high experience when you go to high school, even if you weren't best of friends with those individuals, they're still people you're familiar with. So you're going to gravitate toward them in high school or college because you share a common experience. That is getting fractured and stripped away and ignored even. And so that's the thing that's sad to me. It's not that I'm seeing them become something different than what they were, because you're right, Dave. They weren't particularly close, but that communal bond of being from the same town now doesn't seem to have any power at all.
I think it does from Matt. I think it does from Matt's perspective.
It does, right? Yes,
we see that. We see, and it has more from Matt's perspective, right? But that goes to characters. That goes to who these characters are.
Ooh.
Matt is an incredibly loyal character.
Yep.
And I think the other ones are from a different perspective of different things, and we see that throughout. It goes back to Matt rescuing them when they were in the Stone of Tyr. That's who Matt is at his heart. Despite all his roguish whatever, and he's out and he's so self-centered and he's focused on his own things, when it push comes to shove, he will always go and rescue his townspeople. He'll go and always have the back of the other people. I think the other people will probably do that too, but we don't see examples of that. The only examples I think we've seen thus far are Matt doing that, because I think that's his character arc, is to offset his own self-centeredism, because he's very self-centered. But that self-centeredness is offset by the fact that he keeps doing all these things that you're like, why would you do this? You're so self-centered. Why are you going off into the Stone of Tyr and rescuing Egwene and Nynaeve? That doesn't fit in your arc, but it is. That's completely who he is.
Yeah.
It's the battle that's always going on within himself.
Well, he can't get away from it.
It's the thing that redeems him, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise Matt's a scamp.
Right.
So
but he is a scamp, but he's a scamp with a good heart.
Loves dancing until he dances with Swan Song chick.
I think that the women are all loyal.
They are.
But
not to the same level he is.
I think probably they are. But the difference is that they are not scalawags like he is. So when Matt does something like when Matt does something that is in somebody else's interest other than his own, it stands out. Whereas when one of these women do it, it's part of their character. But the sad thing is that because we're talking about Egwene in this particular case, because Egwene is used to Matt being the type of person who is untrustworthy and self-centered, that she can't recognize when he's acting nobly. It'll be interesting to see if that becomes a problem.
She's relying on past experiences.
Right. Her youthful experiences, show that he's somebody who does things, for his own personal amusement at the expense of others.
And then she was riding along when he was just like suffering from being possessed and also acting very strangely.
Which also was something that he just went off and did out of his own self-interest, right?
Yeah.
He creates problems for sure, but
him.
she also fails to recognize his nobility, which he certainly possesses.
He's covered in it.
If you were in this situation, with Matt and Elaine, and you were Matt, and you had Elaine acting deliberately anticipating your moves and acting as if you weren't going to do something,
and you're just charged to follow her.
No, he's charged to protect her,
right.
Not follow her.
Well, I mean,
right.
Maybe
he's
he
charged
could have
to protect her.
Him. Yeah, true.
Well, right.
He's charged to protect her by the most important and powerful person in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And more importantly to him, it's just his friend, because he's a loyal person. So
Oh,
it doesn't
man.
matter
He
the
was
power
also
of the
just like looking at her. I forgot about this. Matt was a scallywag with it because he was looking at her like, oh man, things were different.
Right, but at this
Yeah.
point, Matt can no longer view Rand as just his friend, and he doesn't. He doesn't at all.
Right, I know.
Oh, I think
How many
I think he
instances?
does. I don't think it matters.
I don't think you're right at all. Matt has continuously made statements of Rand is not the same. I can't view Rand the same.
So you think that Matt is loyal to power and not friends?
No.
Okay.
What
He's
I'm
loyal
saying
to
is
his
Matt.
word.
That's all I'm
He's
saying.
loyal to
Matt's loyal
the fact,
to his friends.
He's loyal to his friends, but he also recognizes that his friend is no longer the same. He recognizes his friend is now the king of the world, and that his friend is also maybe slightly crazy.
Matt's also
It doesn't-
slightly
I don't
crazy.
think any of that matters.
No, it absolutely matters because it affects his decision
It
making.
wouldn't matter because Matt's loyal. Matt's loyal to his friends. Period.
No, I don't agree.
You don't think he's loyal to his friends?
I think you're cherry picking.
No,
I think
no,
he's
I'm
loyal
not.
to his friends,
I'm
and also the fact.
broadcasting.
No, I think he's loyal to his friends also, and the fact that he recognizes that his loyalty to his friend may be colored by the fact that his friend is no longer who his friend was.
Sure, but he's no longer who he was. He has this entire history in his head that he has no idea about. You're talking about Matt is looking at his friend as like he is no longer who he was. Matt is also not any longer who he was.
Right.
There've all been
None of them
dramatic
are.
changes.
None
in
of
these
them are.
books.
But that doesn't matter. I mean, the thing that makes Matt great, the thing that redeems Matt as a character, is that
Everything.
he is loyal to his friends. Period. If he makes a commitment to one of his friends, regardless of whether or not they're the most powerful person in the
Yeah.
world or the most insignificant, he's going to follow through on it.
That's
That's what
been brought
makes
up.
him.
Yep.
That's where his nobility comes from. That's what makes him worthwhile, and that is valuable in any human relationship. I mean, to have somebody that's that reliable makes him great.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So-
and then
so
on
to
top
say
of
that
that, you
he's-
have his luck just sprinkled on there.
I don't think he's loyal to Rand because Rand is important. I think he's loyal to Rand because Rand is his friend, period. The fact that Rand is important raises the stakes, but it doesn't influence whether or not Matt's going to follow through on his commitments. We are dealing with friends, some of whom now find themselves in powerful positions
I don't
that
know if they're
are
friends anymore.
used. I'm not quibbling over the word. I don't know what other word to use.
I know. I'm sorry. I know. It just breaks my heart. like this whole parent.
Compatriots. I mean,
this whole
whatever word you
parent
want to
thing.
use. So let's talk about Perrin and Wolf and Man here. So we finally get Perrin back in this story.
Has it been like an entire book?
It feels like it's been an entire book since we've seen him.
Seems like a book and a half.
Perrin thinks that Rand looks harder than when Perrin last saw him.
He's been through the ringer.
Look
Well,
dead in the
He's-
eyes.
No, he hasn't. He's gonna. There's way more story to go. So he's gonna. He's gonna continue going through a much worse ringer, I would imagine, than what he's been through right now.
Probably.
But he's looking at somebody who's been president for a couple of years, right? And their hair gets grayer, and they have bags under their eyes, and like they look more worn out. His friend looks more hardened for sure, and that's something that's surprising to Perrin. But Perrin should also expect this. I mean, Perrin's been through a war, or a battle at the very least for his hometown, and now
It's a
been
war.
crowned
The
a semi-king.
The world.
The conversation between Perrin and Rand that we don't really get to witness is one of the few moments that Rand has actually had to relax within the last couple of books here.
So nice.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to experience a moment of levity, and the moments with Rand just become weightier and weightier. And every time I feel like I'm witnessing his perspective, I feel like somebody's just thrown a huge barbell over my shoulders. It's so heavy.
Yeah, because Rand is dealing with Luce Theron in his mind, and then he's also dealing with just battle plans that he's trying to do. There just is no relaxation, and it was
Well, he's
nice
dealing with Forsaken and Aes Sedai all the time.
Sure, but
And the Dark One.
it was just sad to me because it was like they had a nice laugh after a while, but he also just tried to use
After
his friend
he
right
told
away.
him to go to Tyr.
Yeah, but he can't help it. Like
Well, he
But
sort
he's
of
just
can't help
using
it.
him as bait. He's like, get out there so
Right.
this Forsaken can just be like, oh, wait, he's got his friend out there.
And by the way, the only reason that he needs Perrin and Tyr is because Matt was originally supposed to go
Right.
there, and now he sent Matt someplace
And he
else.
sent him, yeah, this is just, it's so sad to me. He has to do it, though.
He's a ruler.
I don't know that he has to do it.
He does.
What else is he going to do?
No. He needs a decoy in Tyr for sure.
I don't feel sorry for Perrin. Rand has to use Rand has to use who he has to use. It sucks. It's not great, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know what? Put your big boy pants on. You're a Taviran. You're in this battle now. Like, you may not have you didn't want it. You didn't want what's put upon you, but
Dave, Perrin has to go
You're
talk
right.
to his father-in-law.
We're
I
looking
know,
at
it's
we're
true.
looking at this from Perrin's perspective,
right.
which is I didn't ask. There was no election where I raised my hand and said I wanted to be Taviran, and everybody voted me in.
But too bad.
You also kind of told me to go take care of Two Rivers.
Well, yeah, it's easy to
it's
say
not-
too
it's
bad
not-
to somebody else.
But you know what? It's not done too badly for him. He ended up with a hot wife. He ended up being the Lord of the
He
Town.
ended up
Well,
with a hot
you
wife.
you can say all those things. Whether or not he wanted them, who knows?
I'm fairly certain he wanted a
I-
hot wife.
I can definitely tell you he didn't want to be
Yeah.
he didn't want to be king of anywhere.
He might not have wanted that, but he seems to be doing okay with it. The world of Perrin right now is not too shabby. I'm not gonna lie
I mean,
to
he
you.
did have his father-in-law threaten to kill him if things didn't go well
Oh,
between
and
his
guess
wife
what?
and his mother-in-law.
That ended up okay.
I agree with
Well,
you, Dave. It's not
that's
too
easy
shabby.
for us to say from our removed perspective as
He
readers.
had a 20-minute conversation. Look out.
Well, who knows
He
how
still
long
got the
that
hot wife.
conversation lasted.
He's still the
I
Lord
think
of
it
the
was
Two
a-
I
Rivers.
suspect
I think
it
it was
lasted
a,
longer
I
than
think it was a
20 minutes.
5-minute conversation.
Right, exactly. He's okay. Boo hoo hoo for Perrin. No, that's not happening. There's no small violins playing from Perrin's plight at all.
No, there is a small violin play for it, and it's this
There's
friendship
not for
with
me.
Rand, which is just getting dissolved.
But I don't think it is. Like, Perrin's getting pulled to Rand because, once again, like Matt, he's a Taviran. At this
Sure.
point, the last battle is coming. Come on, guys. Let's
Well.
be real. The last battle is coming. We're getting all caught up in emotions. You have to put that to the side and realize this is it. The end is coming.
Well, Perrin is more concerned about meeting his father-in-law.
Right. And that's part of the problem. The crap is hitting the fan.
That is just the most immediate conflict.
He
is
seems to
not
deal okay
more
with it.
concerned about it. It's just the most immediate conflict that he has to
He
deal
seems
with.
to deal with it just fine.
The other thing that Perrin provides us with some insight into is the relationship of Saldaean women and men. It is
Okay, yeah.
incredibly strange. The great thing is, as much as we've complained about the sexual politics of Jordan and how odd they are, what he has provided us with is a variety of them.
Saldaeans are interesting, man.
Problematic might be
Yeah.
another word that people
Agreed.
would use. We've gotten hints from Fael in this regard, but the standoff between Perrin and Fael's parents really illustrates what's going on here.
It is just strange. But like you said, you got hints of it from her with Perrin before, just in the ways like she tries to egg him on to get him to respond a certain way.
The only hints that I remember are that fan dance that she says she knows how to do, that she, before they were married, she hinted several times that she would do for him. I don't remember.
Oh yeah,
her,
she had it in her pocket like a weapon. She was carrying it
Right.
around in a briefcase.
Yes.
That's a fan
a
dance.
stiletto.
Right.
Don't you worry about that.
It's like the Jets and the Sharks. She was going to pop
or
that
rather,
out.
you should worry about that.
Yeah.
It's a scene in a Tarantino movie where she just whips out this fan and it turns into a blade and she chucks it at Perrin.
She's a bit of a problem child, that one.
Okay.
Just cuts his head off.
What is the deal with these Saldaean wedding rites? Like, Davram is going to kill Perrin if Fael can't convince her mother the marriage is a good pair?
I don't even know that's a wedding rite. That's like a That's a prenuptial wedding thing. Like it's.
I think he would have rather had a guy he could say no to and kill than a guy that he would agree to marry his
He
daughter.
was really looking to murder. He was really looking forward to murdering someone.
Well, he really was.
was
That
all
entire
worked up about it.
Yeah, that entire conversation leading up to the room, he's like just really hoping he gets to kill Perrin. He's like,
He's stroking his goatee
he totally is.
and,
He
yeah.
totally is. He's like, I really hope this goes wrong. He's like Stewie. I really hope this goes wrong.
Hello, broccoli.
I'm going to kill you, broccoli, and the entire rest of the family.
That's right. I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to kill my wife.
Yeah, it's a bit much, but he's all jacked up about it. Like he's.
I would love to see that fight, though.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Adam. I was thinking the
you
same
seem
thing.
to be eager for Perrin and Davram to go at it.
Well, I
am.
because Davram's so convinced that he would just like slaughter him, and I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Meanwhile, the rest of us are rooting for an amicable outcome.
Right? Yes, we're hoping for a duel.
Adam just wants blood.
Well, we're
You all
leading
want them
into
to get
you know
along and have dinners on Sunday together.
Right.
A good leg of lamb,
right,
a slap on the back.
I get that these people live near the waste and they
think that's what it is?
lead
It's the
a
blight
very
affecting
violent
them?
existence, and therefore that violence works its way into their culture. But for it to then also work its way into the relationships between men and women is a whole other step I don't think I could have imagined.
Well, it's like this weird dominant submissive thing, but it's like it'll switch the second that the guy flexes, let's say. Like the minute he puts his foot down, I don't know any other way to describe it because it is totally in any situation
It was
normally
described pretty well.
Yeah.
the woman is completely dominant over the guy until it switches, and then the man puts his foot down and he's dominant and she's submissive, and there's just no other way around it.
Until they grab her by the hair.
Right, exactly. Grab her by the scruff of the neck, like what she talks about, and then she's like, "Okay, so I'm a mewling kitten now." I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
There's definitely some give and take. Like that's one of from my perspective, one of the few redeeming things about the way that these relationships play out is that you don't see either party being fully dominant over the other. One pushes against the other until they reach a
Until it
certain
goes
breaking
too far.
point. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then the other is allowed to push back or even encouraged to push back. And this is the thing that Dira is looking for from Perrin, right?
Right.
She pushes and pushes and pushes at him literally by poking him in the chest, waiting to see if he will push back.
she's waiting for that flick of the switch. Is actually what it is. Like something has to happen where it's like the Star Wars drain where it goes the other way around. But
the draining of the Death Star.
right, exactly.
I'm about to flick my switch.
And then parents put in the difficult position of trying to figure out, like, this woman is really irritating me. I would really like to push back at her, but
Right,
I don't
but it's
treat
my
women that way.
And it's my future mother-in-law too.
He's used to it. Look who he's with.
Well, a very,
he's
very
not
good
That was
point.
used to- we don't-
just lying to him at the beginning of their relationship.
But that's nothing compared to this, right? Like, that's relatively mild, isn't it?
It is, and he lets Fail run all over him until,
Oh yeah.
like his breaking
this is Min's
point.
complaint.
Yeah, his breaking point is way, I'd say, way deeper. Whatever the word is you want to use for that, it's not the right word, but he has way more tolerance. That's what it is than Fail's father. Like Bashir, I
until
think
he breaks, like Eric was saying.
I think that breaking point is a lot sooner for Bashir than it is for Perrin. Like Perrin will just keep going and keep going and keep going. But when he does erupt, he does. But I wish his breaking point were much sooner because then we'd have to deal with less of the nonsense.
Well, Davram Bashir understands these dynamics a lot better.
True.
He was raised in them. Perrin was raised in a totally different culture.
He was just thrown to the deep end when he met this girl.
Yeah, the very deep end.
And now he's he's not even in the deep end. He's in the Marianas Trench. Like,
I also think
he's
it's funny that he's wrestling over the fact that he finds his mother-in-law attractive.
I
Right.
love that. He's like, oh, look at her. I would not mind at all.
She's
if
a good
my
looking. No,
wife
she's not. Yes, she is. No, she's
looked
not.
like this lady.
Right,
Giggity-goo.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's the name of that character from Family Guy?
Quagmire.
Quagmire.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a long way from Quagmire.
he was in the deep end. Now he's in the really, really deep end. He better come up for air real fast because otherwise he's going to drown.
Yeah.
And that's what he has to do. And
I think he is
does.
figuring it out. I think he is figuring it out. It's just going to take him some time. I think both of you are right that Fail has slightly prepared him for this, but
Not yet.
you've also made the point that his approach to her is just to let her have her way
it's
unless
really
it's
annoying.
absolutely dire.
Really annoying.
And maybe now he'll learn I don't have to wait until that point.
I hope
I
so.
should push back sooner.
I like in this section
Doubt
how
it.
Bashir
I agree, Adam.
does eventually stand up for Perrin to his wife. Like, I like that. He eventually's like, okay, enough's enough. Those two are good.
Yeah, there was a lot covered emotionally in Bashir, apparently. He went from wanting to fight him and kill him to being like, hey, you're not so bad.
Right. Yeah.
Look how you talked to my wife.
Right. You slapped my
like
wife.
So this is something that's bred into the culture, right? What they look for in people are
Need
strength.
into the culture.
And so they push and push and push you until you demonstrate some sort of fortitude. And if you don't, then apparently murder is a perfectly suitable outcome.
I'm up for this.
Say you're a weakling, you die. And that does make sense for a culture that is essentially
on the blight.
Trojan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're a warrior culture, so they don't
They
don't
don't
mess around.
suffer fools
Right.
or weaklings
Yeah,
for that
they
matter.
can't suffer weak people, and it plays out in every dynamic of the culture.
What's the wife's name? What's Fail's mother's name?
Dira.
Dira.
Dira, right.
Dear Dira, except not so dear.
Mm.
Not really dear at all. More like elephant.
Right. I didn't know that's the type of deer you were
Going
going
to-
with, but I
going
like
to
that one.
trample you.
She really came out swinging.
Yep.
Yep.
She came swinging that
She
trunk.
came out slapped and swinging.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Rosy cheeked and swinging.
We never did get to the bottom of who we think slapped first.
Oh.
Yeah, who slapped who first?
Well,
I'm
who do
thinking-
you think?
I'm thinking the mom slapped first.
That was my guess also.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah, I would think so.
she was
And
getting
then
at her
Fail was
hussy
like,
daughter.
I'm grown up now. I'm married.
Well, that's the other thing. Like in their culture, apparently you get slapped, you slap back. You don't just sit down and take that.
No.
I also think
That's
it's
good.
funny that both of their cheeks are red, and yet the men come into the room and they're acting like nothing. They don't have giant red bruises or red
Davram probably is like,
handprints on their cheeks.
Definitely
Well, now
probably
right
is.
now we're
Got
moving
two
into a
fighting
whole.
ladies.
Now that's a different topic of conversation.
Now we're moving into a whole other
Oh,
place of
No,
attraction, Adam.
no, I didn't mean that. Well, I know.
Yeah, she's been
Look at my
physically
wife.
abused. This
Yeah,
is
they're
great.
standing up for themselves.
Not that there's
Both of
anything
them.
wrong with
I love
that.
it.
Adam, who was your Coplin of the week?
Mine's Fail.
Your
just
Coplin
because-
of the week is Fail?
You dirty
Yeah,
jerk.
because she's bringing this whole family into it, and actually, my Coplin probably should be Perrin.
Well,
Because
maybe
he
you should
chose to marry
decide.
her.
He chose to marry her.
I dislike this woman so much that I am going
I'm gonna
to
blame
make
her
her
husband,
husband. the guy. So, which one is it?
Right.
It is. It's Perrin. Come to think of it, it's like, man. Not only have you chosen her, but look at this family that you're inheriting. Apparently,
So your Coplin of the week is Perrin because he married a Coplin.
because of the choices of the past.
Because he married somebody who should be your Coplin. All right.
Well, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes.
She, yeah, she is my Coplin, but he more so.
Well, then who is it?
No, it's
you
Perrin.
keep trying to ride both sides of the fence.
I'll go with mine, and I'll help you out there, Adam, because mine is Fail. And the reason mine is Fail is for simply other than the fact that she didn't really prepare Perrin enough, I don't think, for what he was going to wander into.
Well, I don't
No
think she
way.
thought that they were going to wander into this.
Well, she had to expect it.
Yeah. The minute she realizes that her mother and father are there, she's none too thrilled.
She could have pulled him to the side and been like, by the way, you might want to flex instantly when we get in this room, because if you don't, my mom's going to run all over you. It's a minor annoyance, but I would just say in these chapters we read, it was the closest I could come to picking someone that annoyed me more than anyone else. So that's what I ended up with.
She is kind of like loving that, though. She's kind of
Oh,
loving
yeah.
only warning him at the end and then being like, watch him go.
Right. Yeah, she wants to
Look
see
how
she
he
wants to
does
see how he'll
this.
fend for himself.
Yeah.
You know. Which, okay, I can respect that and I understand that because that is part of their culture. Is how she raised. That is how she was raised. She wants a strong male figure in that response, unless it's when she doesn't want to be strong so she can step all over him. But
where does the thought come in that, like, I love this person, I don't want them to die, maybe I should try to do things in order
they've
to
got
assure
a
that?
fickle definition of love, I think. I don't know.
Do you think if Perrin was murdered by Davram that she'd just be like, well, I guess he just wasn't strong enough?
Murder by Davram is good. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't honestly know how to answer that. Maybe. Well, I guess he just wasn't the right one.
Well, right, yeah, just not strong enough. Need to go find another one.
Good thing I had that.
First, maybe I should check in and get my mom's permission.
You know,
is that horn out there still? Is there another one I could go hunting?
Right.
Maybe I should marry Matt.
Right. I was going to say, Perrin has no connection to the horn, but yeah.
I will see your Fail and Perrin and raise you and Elaine. Yep.
Oh. Interesting choice.
I like it.
Really,
I want an explanation.
Really sick of the way that a character that I really, really liked has become just despicable in her treatment of Tom and Matt. She makes Tom promise her. I can't remember why the promise occurs. Do either of you remember what was it that Tom wanted Elaine to do that he promised her he would obey her and follow her rules moving forward? I can't remember what it was.
Oh man,
was it just something to keep her safe?
It had to have my guess is it had to have something to do with Falma.
It did have to do with Falma, and it had to do with
going into Falma. It must have had to do with going into Falma. Either way, though, it's not just that. It's her treatment of Matt also. Like, now she's decided, in order to become the true leader of this group, she
Would you
needs
rather
to
be naive?
steal. No, I would rather Matt be the leader of his own men, and she's trying to become the leader. Right? Yeah.
Well, you said of the group. I
right.
mean,
but right.
Who do you want to be the leader of the group? You want Matt to be?
I don't think
That's a bad start.
I don't think the group needs a leader. I think it's perfectly fine for Elaine if she wants to lead Nynaeve to find the bowl. I think it's perfectly fine for her to be the leader of those two.
Probably not perfectly fine with Nynaeve.
But Matt doesn't need anybody ordering him around. He probably needs some direction provided to him at certain points. But just the way that she's going about trying to undermine his authority and sort of suck up to his men and steal the leadership away from him. I just find the way that she's trying to go about it really, really childish and gross. So for those reasons, Elaine, you're my Coplin of the week.
Interesting pick.
Okay. I agree with that.
Who leveled up? Dave.
Okay. Perrin.
I love doing that. It's my favorite part of the
Perrin
day.
leveled up.
Perrin.
Because he survived the Marianas Trench. He swam his way out.
He's going deep.
He did go deep.
He does run deep.
He,
Still waters.
Yeah. He survived Bashir. Then he survived Dira. Then he survived the two of them together.
Yep.
With no real help from his wife.
He avoided a duel.
Yeah, I mean and he also, had the whole conversation with Rand that he made his way out of, which much as I think both sides had justifiable
avoided going
points.
to Tyr, right? That's where Rand wanted to send him?
Yeah.
Which I think actually detracts from his leveling up, in
Rand's
my opinion.
trying to send all of his friends to Tyr.
Well, Rand's just doing what a leader should do.
Sending people to Tyr.
Right. Exactly, because Matt can't go there because he's got to watch out for his girlfriend.
He's causing tears is what he's doing.
Yeah.
In his friends.
But that's for that and several other reasons.
And that's what a good friend does.
And not only that, we haven't seen Perrin in a long time. So
right, yeah.
Tears of an angel. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. It's good to have him back.
Perrin leveled up for me as well for all those reasons, and because I like the way he navigated Davram more than anything, because it really did look like good old Smiley McGee over there was looking to stick a rapier
with his oily beard,
chest.
who was getting ready to shank him one.
Yeah, he was going to give him the old shiv.
Yeah,
that's a weak name.
I was trying to go for Simon Legree, and I rhymed with Smiley McGee instead. So There you go, Adam. That was the
I like it.
the
That was a little
etymology of a
inside
joke.
baseball, Eric's mind.
That's right. The failing of Eric's mind. Who leveled up for you, booby?
Mine is Matt, just
Ooh.
with having to put up with all this nonsense, like you mentioned with Elaine, and the fact that he's keeping somewhat of a cool head,
Yeah.
and especially with actually, and then he's just charged to do this, to follow these women because of Rand's problem with having too many ladies.
Well, I think Rand knows Matt's going to get the job done.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's going to grumble. He's going to be a nuisance. He's going to be a pain to everybody. And that's also my question. Do you hear this in the terms of relationship between Matt and Elaine? Elaine is being a pill for sure, but Matt's not being much better. He's annoying. And I love Matt, but Matt does everything on his own to make him to be difficult to get along with.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
He's not behaving great in this situation either. Don't forget that
She's just being worse.
He told his band of the Red Hand that should Elaine approach them on her own, she's to be stuffed in a sack and taken to Camelin.
The minute he can, he's going to kidnap her, literally.
Right. So not great,
but he's
not
just
great
following
behavior.
orders.
Right.
I don't remember Rand saying to
Specifically,
stuff her in a
stuff her in a
sack.
sack. You take
said,
your
"Dude,
sorries and
whatever it
stuff them in a
takes."
sack, mister.
Right. Yeah. Whatever it takes. Yeah. I don't.
He provided Matt with a snorkel.
He gave
Here,
Matt
just
the
stuff
sack.
this in the back.
He gave Matt a female-sized sack and said, "Here, worst comes to worst, just shove her into this."
Right.
I wouldn't put it past.
Don't let
Tuck
anyone
her
see
off.
this, but
Right.
I got a human-sized sack.
Right. Don't let anybody see this. Just put it in your fanny pack and break in case of emergency. Break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah. And use sack in case of
Rip
emergency.
out-
Break glass,
Rip
use
out
sack in case of emergency.
Right. That
He
sounds
specially made it.
painful. All right. Well, that concludes this week's episode. Join us next week when we will cover chapters 49 through 54 of Lord of Chaos. Until then, may you rest in the Creator's hand.
May you know good hunting, young bull, and cheese to give you many cubs.
To vienda se tovia to gain. Say gain.
Toes up.
Flippity flip, flippity flap, flapjacks.